Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to Kardec Radio. Today we are here live from the Virginia Chantilly studios at Kardec Radio, and we are happy to be with you to talk about a most important topic, homeopathy and Abraham Lincoln. Our audio files, for some reason, is not working. Blog Talk Radio just announced to us that their engineers are working on a solution, so we are not going to be able to stream any audio file for you. But we'll be here to tell you what we have to tell you, which is all about the Spiritist message, the universality of its teaching. We can't forget that June the 28th, which is a Sunday, in the U.S., there will be the 12th Family Spiritist Retreat. Yes, it's true. And you still have time to register. Registrations close on June the 10th, and you can register by going to the website, FamilySpiritistRetreat.org. FamilySpiritistRetreat.org. Go to the website. You'll be amazed about the pictures of previous retreats, about how many people have been working together to bring so much educational fun for you, and so many good people and hundreds of families getting together to rejoice about the news of Spiritism. And this year the theme is the Kingdom of Heaven is like a treasure. You will love it. It's so much fun. Good food, good friends, a lot of good things. Go to the website, FamilySpiritistRetreat.org, get to know more information about it. Also, if you're in England now, don't forget, there are several activities happening there, and specifically one major event that is coming up is the 5th British Congress on Medicine and Spirituality. There will be doctors from around the world giving their lectures about spirituality and medicine. All you have to do is go to the website, medspiritcongress.org, medspiritcongress.org, and do your registration and get to know. It's going to happen on October 31st and November 1st in London. It's at the Rudolf Steiner House and Theater. I think you shouldn't miss it. If you're going to be around, it's the opportunity for you to rejoice about the teachings of Spiritism, spirituality, and how many doctors are bridging them up so beautifully for all of us. Well, we are here also to discuss the fact that Kardec himself had the opportunity of teaching us about the principles of matter, which is quite interesting because if you go to the Spirit's book in its first chapters, Kardec lays out questions and answers regarding the Spirit's book on matter, the universality of the principles of matter and spirit. And one of the questions, which is question 30, is, does matter consist of any one or many elements? And the answer is one single primitive element. The bodies you regard as simple are not true elements, but rather transformations of one primitive matter. The bottom line as we continue reading is that they are deriving from what we call the elementary matter that composes all matters in the universe. And when we go to question and answer 33, is the same elementary matter capable of undergoing all possible modifications and acquiring all possible properties? And the answer is yes. And this is what you should understand when we say that everything is in everything. Why am I reading this to you? For one simple reason. Because we are going to discuss about homeopathy. To understand more about it, we need to understand the foundations of the composition of matter. And Dr. Renata Hines is going to be here with us directly from London, and she's going to be telling us more about this and the connection between the American president Abraham Lincoln and homeopathy. So here we are, dear listener, with Dr. Renata Hines. Hi, Renata. How are you?
Hello, Vanessa.
We're going to have a blast with a program about homeopathy, spirituality, Abraham Lincoln. There's so much to know. And we have here with us Dr. Renata Hines, who is a spiritist and a homeopathic doctor in London. And she's joining us. She came here before Kardec Radio to talk about spiritism and homeopathy. And today she's going to bridge it up quite interestingly, homeopathy with the history of medicine in the United States, and specifically with Abraham Lincoln. It's quite interesting. It's about the research of the behind the scenes of the making of homeopathic medicine. How are you, Renata? Thank you for your patience.
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you for your patience as well.
Oh, thank you. It's great to have you here, and it's quite intriguing, Renata. Before we were able to connect with you, we were just reading a few questions and answers from the Spirits book by Kardec.
Yes.
When questions 30, 31, 32, 33, he talks about the composition of matter, which comes from one single elementary substance, which is the universal elementary matter. And then we were sharing with the listener that's a foundational concept also to understand the principles of medicine and specifically about homeopathy. For those who were not able to listen to your program, which is on demand, they hopefully will do it later if they haven't done this far. But for those who are listening to us first time about homeopathy and spiritism, etc., can you give us just I know it's probably too much, but just a little bit of a brief summary about, homeopathy and in its mechanisms.
In its mechanisms. Right. I will give a very brief summary. Samuel Hahnemann, through his observations, he notes that the body, our physical body, is maintained in health or disease through a vital energy.
Mm-hmm.
All right? This vital energy is what maintains us alive, is what keeps us in health, and when deranged or when out of balance, it's what makes us ill. What else can I say? Also, he realizes in his observations that the body without this vital energy is dead. So to speak, once we die, once the body has not this vital energy anymore, the body has died. So it is metabolic functions stop. It is mental functions stop. So we can link that with the perispirit. The perispirit, as we know in spiritism, is that semi-material fluid that it is in between our physical body and our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pass over, and our spirit take that perispirit with it. And that's basically where the homeopathic remedies act on the perispirit in spiritist terms, or as it's known in homeopathy as the vital energy or the vital principle.
It's very, very interesting, and we understand.
But there is a British scientist who has studied this fluid, and that was Sir Oliver Lodge. He studied what he called the ether, and he started his study as a skeptical scientist, and went on to study mediums and study mediumship communications, and he actually became a spiritualist. But however, his works were vilified and put down by the materialist science, which took over after the First World War.
Mm-hmm. So Renata, recently, I actually this week, I read in the news that Charles from England, he actually was advocating for homeopathy.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
Yes. Prince Charles is very fond of homeopathy, and actually, the Queen, she uses homeopathy all the time. Actually, she carries a little bag with lots of homeopathic remedies in it whenever she is traveling.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's fascinating. And you know, I in the Facebook, I have I receive news from a page named I Love Homeopathy.
Yes.
And this week they shared also, I think it was last week, they shared about a hospital that exists, a homeopathic hospital that existed here in the United States in Long Island. And they say Rhode Island. Okay, here I have it in front of me. It's quite interesting because I think it bridges quite well with what you're going to tell us. They say they even show a picture. It was huge, historic image of a homeopathic hospital in Rhode Island in the United States in the early 1900s. And they say that according to Dr. Dudley Williams, who was a homeopath doctor from the Rhode Island in that area, he said, I did not lose a single case of influenza. My death rate in pneumonia was 2.1%. And then he talks more about even pneumonia, etc. So we're talking about people in the recent past who were using homeopathy and hospitals that existed about it. So I know in your studies you talk about many people who were renowned around the world and used homeopathy and were true advocates for it. Can you tell us about more of these people? Who were they?
Yes. It's my research is mainly done through a book written by an American homeopath, which I will mention here. His name is Dana Ullman, and the name of the book is The Homeopathic Revolution. But I will tell you here that you will be surprised with the numbers and names of heroes and heroines of history who were users and advocates for homeopathy. To name just a few, we have Charles Darwin, who could have not written his masterpiece called Origin of Species without the homeopathic that he received from Dr. Gully. And this information is based on Darwin's own letters. We have J.D. Rockefeller, we have Van Gogh, Monet, Renoir, Degas, Beethoven, Paganini, Chopin, Wagner, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Tina Turner, Martina Navratilova, many suffragists in America, such as Elizabeth Stanton. And then we have Florence Nightingale, and more modern people like Boris Becker, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And then we have José de San Martin, who was a man who led the independence movement for South America. And we have the American writer Louisa May Alcott and the eminent psychologist and philosopher William James. There is Charles Dickens Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and Robert Bosch, who is to do with the Bosch appliances. And the list goes on and on.
Wow.
But of course, the reason that homeopathy was so big back in the 1800s was because it was very popular in America and Europe because of its successes in treating various infectious epidemics, diseases, such as typhoid fever, cholera, yellow fever, diphtheria, influenza, and it was very successful comparing to allopathic medicine.
Yes, you're right, and it doesn't treat the symptoms only, right, Renata? It goes deep into the root cause of them. Am I right?
Yes, it's right, and for this reason, exactly, the homeopathic remedies, they will act again in what we were talking about on the energetic field of the person, in the perispirit. So, because in order for you to get a disease, your perispirit, first of all, or your vital energy, has got to be out of balance.
Exactly. So if you don't restore that balance in the perispirit, then we will not sustain the balance in the matter. So let me ask you a question. Recently, we're going to go to more extreme cases. For example, cancer. We got all these news about, for example, Angelina Jolie having mastectomy just to prevent cancer here and there. We're not judging the person, we're just evaluating the scenario. According to what we know in Spiritism, and you just mentioned it, the disease is in our spiritual body. So you can cut all parts of the body. But if the spiritual body has a problem, it's going to show up somewhere in the body. Maybe not in the breast, but elsewhere, right?
Yes, that's right. And that's why we homeopaths really do not like people who go off and cut off their moles or warts, because that is a sign that disease is expressing itself in the most superficial level of the body. You cut that off, it will go somewhere else. It's better to have in the skin than driving in. See, the body has a wisdom, which is always to keep disease at the most peripheral area, at the less important organs. The skin is not as important as the liver or as the heart. You start to suppress in the skin. First place it goes is the lungs or throat. You suppress in the lungs or throat, it goes even deeper. You suppress, homeopaths have observed that you suppress rheumatism in the joints, it goes straight into the heart.
Interesting.
So you go for homeopathic treatment for example, heart problem, the homeopath will give you a homeopathic remedy, and then the heart problem starts disappearing, but you come back to the homeopath complaining, oh, doctor, but now I have problem. My problem is back in my joints. For you, might not be that good yet because we haven't treated that, but for the homeopath is the right way of cure, from within outwards.
That's quite interesting. And again, you're bringing to us the awareness that the imbalance is there in the spiritual body. So we need to go to the root, not on the symptoms only. That's quite interesting. Very, very interesting. But on the same token, Renata, you talked about so many famous people who became users of homeopathy. Even in the United States, you mentioned about 11 American presidents. Am I right? Who used it?
Yes, American. There is a great deal of evidence that points that at least 11 American presidents received homeopathic treatment or expressed support for it by their political actions. However, every one of them was strongly discouraged from committing themselves too much to its development for political reasons. You see, the American Medical Association was a very powerful organization, and it actually got created in order to stop the growth of homeopathy.
Oh my Lord!
So, and although the educated and literally elite was, as well as the wealthy classes of people were using homeopathy in Europe and America, it still represents a minority school of medical practice. So the politicians had to be very careful in expressing support for homeopathy, especially because of this antagonism towards homeopathy and homeopaths by American and European Orthodox physicians.
So, but Renata, let me ask you a question. Nowadays, it's probably even harder for homeopathy because of the pharmaceutical industry. They are so big. We're talking about billions of dollars or pounds, right?
Yes. The pharmaceutical company, they are very powerful, and they can spend millions in basically brainwashing people into think that they need this or that medication, to think that it's better stuff their kids with paracetamol or ibuprofen for the fever than use homeopathy, for example.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so but it was popular in the U.S. and in Europe before, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little more about?
Yes. I will go now to Abraham Lincoln, if I may.
Sure.
As everybody knows him as the American president who did everything to hinder slavery, which was an institution which he often compared to a cancer. But there is great amount of evidence that Lincoln had a special interest in homeopathy. And most people are unaware that Lincoln was a great supporter of it and had a homeopathic team behind him as healer, as well as support for his fight against slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting. It's very interesting, and they, in some regard, as you mentioned, Lincoln himself used it. I know there is a book that talks about Lincoln having some issues with depression. So, would you say the reasons? What are the possible reasons why he used homeopathy himself?
He used, well, the possible, as I stated before, the possible reason is that the wealth and the educated classes were were great advocates for it. But the thing is that he, as his supporters, for example, he had a friend well before he became a president. Mm-hmm. He had a friend who was a president of the New York Homeopathic Hospital, and this guy, William Bryant, he was also an editor of the New York Evening Post and a leading advocate for abolition of slavery. He introduced Lincoln before the audience at the famous Cooper Union speech in New York. At this point in time, Lincoln was not yet a Republican nominee for the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And that speech that he gave, in which he presented his views on slavery, is considered one of his most important speeches, if not the one important one that got him to become a president.
Mm-hmm.
Now, later on, the same homeopath and editor of the newspaper named, again, New York Evening Post, helped and influenced Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Because Lincoln had received many petitions from homeopaths and sons and daughters of homeopaths, and from all other advocates for homeopathy to end slavery. An example of these letters was written by the activist in the civil rights movement and suffragette. Her name was Abby Holmes Christensen. Now, it's known from the from letters that they wrote to each other that Lincoln wrote to his colleagues and vice versa, that they used a lot of homeopathic analogies in these letters.
Mm-hmm.
And that show a level of familiarity and comprehensive understanding of the concepts behind homeopathy by Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And,
wow.
What else?
And it's interesting, Renata. Let me just open a parenthesis here. When you're talking about the date of the debate and these letters, it's right at the time that Kardec was publishing the Spirit's book and opening the pathway for Spiritism. So while in America we had these things going on and Lincoln advocating for so many important frontiers, in so many frontiers, we had Kardec in Europe opening other doors too. So it's not by chance for sure, right?
No, it's not by chance. It is. I was just thinking about what you just said earlier on today. It actually, the growth of homeopathy took place parallelly to the growth of spiritualism and spiritism, and parallelly to scientists who came to study the phenomena of spirituality, as in spiritualism, such as William Crookes and Sir Oliver Lodge. Mm-hmm. So it all happened at the same time. And it went on for quite a while together until the First World War came, and somehow that got these two movements got like a few setbacks.
Mm-hmm. And it's also interesting because as you're giving those parallels, I recall that Hahnemann, you said in the other program that we had with you, Hahnemann is one of the spirits that brought the teachings of Spiritism through the mediums at Kardec's time. So it's interesting how he was working very likely in those two parallel movements.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he was working in the two movements. Yes, from the spirit world.
Of course, from the spirit. He could certainly do much more from that perspective at that time than if he were incarnated. That's fascinating. But
let me just say something. Sure. What also happened? The common point behind these two movements was also that many of these influential thinkers in America and Europe, UK, back then, is that they read and absorbed a lot of Emanuel Swedenborg. And homeopathy was a vehicle for this philosophy. So You see, there is a common point there for homeopathy and spiritualism, in the sense that the spiritualism is also incorporated into homeopathy by one of the greatest American homeopaths, who was called James Tyler Kent. He has developed the philosophical, spiritual part of homeopathy, and he was very fond of Swedenborg as well.
Wow. So the foundation is the same. Mm-hmm.
Foundation is the same, yes.
Interesting. And that's quite interesting. Makes a lot of difference. And you also mentioned in your study, in your research, if we go again back to when, at the second half of the 19th century, homeopathy was striving, was accepted, and remained there for a while.
Yes.
Can you tell us more specifics in that regard, please?
Yes. What happened was, in regard to that and to Lincoln, is that around 1854, he was working as a lawyer in his early life, and he loved and prepared material for a special legislative charter for a homeopathic medical school in Chicago. Now, you can imagine that was not a simple task for him, in view of the deep-seated animosity between allopathic or orthodox medical practitioner and unorthodox healers. Now, homeopathy was regarded as a cult by the nascent American Medical Association. In addition to that, the poor reputation of medical education in the USA further complicated the project. So, I again must add here that, as I said before, the American Medical Association was founded in 1845 to stop the growth of homeopathy. So now we can put Lincoln's task of preparing a legislative proposal for a homeopathic medical college in context of the time, and realize that his job was not as simple and would require a lot of effort. However, I think timing was on his side, and he managed to succeed with the help of advocates for homeopathy who he surrounded himself with. So many of Chicago's most prominent citizens and politicians were on the board of trustees of this proposed college. Wow. And that included the Chicago's mayor, 2 congressmen, an Illinois state representative, a Chicago City Councilman, a co-founder of the Northern Western University, the founder of Chicago's Union Railroad, and several medical doctors who were homeopaths. So with all these people with him, he managed to succeed in securing this charter. And then eventually the Hahnemann Homeopathic Medical College accepted its first class in 1860.
Wow.
So you can see that while he was doing that, Vanessa, while Lincoln was all the time, fighting, trying to put homeopathy right there, the American Medical Association was trying to do the opposite. So it was quite a struggle.
Yes, wow. It's amazing. It's incredible. And it's the thing.
Let me just add something here that according to a writer, Frederick Karst, in a book entitled Homeopathy in Illinois, there is an art exhibit at the Pearson Museum at Southern Illinois University, which is a 19th century doctor's office, drugstore, and homeopathic kit from a drugstore. The drugstore of the time called dealer drugstore store. According to this writer, the exhibit notes that Lincoln was a frequent customer of this drugstore and a regular use of homeopathic medicine, and it's through the delivery of well, I'll tell you this bit later. But anyway, this is he was a frequent user according to this writer.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, two things here. We're talking about, we have a listener, our dear friend and host of Kardec Radio 2, John DeRosa, who is here. He has a question for us, Renata, but before I open the line, since I'm not able, because Blog Talk Radio today is having issues with the audio files, just to give a short break, I'm going to read to the listeners a short passage from the book Paul and Stephen, because we're talking about struggles, dear listener. Struggles we all go through in life, inevitably. So Kardec, at the same time, was also advocating for Spiritism. He was creating the foundations for us, but struggles happen there. It's happened here in America, around the world, for homeopathic medicine. And Paul himself, when he was just beginning his new pathway in his transformation, he had struggles too. He lost his family. They turned him down, friends and colleagues, everyone. He had to change his life from A to Z. And there is a moment he is very sad. He's very frustrated, to say the least. And this is in chapter 2 of part 2 of the book Paul and Stephen, psychographed by Chico Xavier, written by the spirit author Emmanuel. And it's beautiful because I'm just going to summarize to you questions that he had in his mind and his spirit guides at the time, Abigail and Stephen, answering his questions to guide him through his struggles. We know we're not alone in this pathway of the making of life in itself. So there is a moment in which he's asking himself, what could I do to acquire a perfect understanding of Christ's designs? And Abigail answered to him in spirit, love. And then he asks, what can I do to reach an elevated expression of such effort? He said he was answered by Abigail, work. Then later he asks, what measures could I adopt against the destructive discouragement that comes by? And he gets the answer, hope. And at the very end, he asks, how can I reconcile the great lessons of the gospel with human indifference? And the answer he gets is forgive. This is our role, dear listener. We are here given the recipe: love, work, hope, and forgiveness. The pathway to endure and to be resilient and successful, accomplished in the achievements of life. Love, work, hope, forgiveness. Everyone goes through that pathway, and we are not going to be the only ones who will not. Now we're going to open the line for our dear friend John DeRosa, because he is here with us. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm fine, Vanessa. It's nice to talk to you, and Renata.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. So would you like to ask a question to Dr. Hines?
Yes. My question relates to earlier in the interview where she was making reference to what happens when you, I think something about removing a wart or a mold, and then you all were talking about it goes someplace else into the body, and I was having trouble understanding because the connection wouldn't allow me to understand what she was talking about. So maybe you could go over that again.
Renata, do you mind just summarizing that point for John, please?
No, I don't. Hahnemann and other homeopaths observed that our body has a wisdom, and whichever kind of unbalanced state we have in our vital energy, the body will always try to keep it at the most superficial level. So it might turn that unbalance into a wart or a mole. So if you go, and especially nowadays, people are removing this left to right for no reason whatsoever. You remove that area that was the least superficial area where the body was keeping the disequilibrium is removed, then that we know, we have observed, is driven somewhere else.
Okay, now I understand.
So much that when you have you come to the homeopath for a treatment, for something, and you have a homeopathic remedy, 100 times out of 100, that mole will reappear. And you feel relief from the symptoms you came for.
Okay. Now I understand exactly what you're referring to. Because, like I said, I couldn't hear properly. Now, based upon what you just said, is the reverse also true? These people that get these tattoos put on their bodies, do they interfere with that same process of the body externalizing?
No, the tattoos are something that you draw in your skin. The tattoos are not produced by your own body. I wouldn't say no. It doesn't apply to tattoos. But the warts that grow by themselves and the moles, that's what your body, your vital energy is producing, is bringing out. Did you understand? Did I explain?
Oh, yes, definitely. Can I ask another question?
Yes.
You been talking about how Abraham Lincoln was so into this homeopathy, and I'm curious about his children and his wife Mary, because I thought one of his children passed away, and I was wondering whether homeopathy was actually used on him, on the child.
I am not sure about that because I haven't gone into his family as well. I just kept myself to Abraham Lincoln, the man.
Okay.
But if you want, I can research for you and then send an answer to Vanessa, and she can send it off to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like that?
Great.
Yes.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you very much.
John, for being with
You're
us
welcome.
today. Thank you, Renata, for answering that. But Renata, as you, it's so fascinating. Lincoln is such a visionary. It's amazing how much he did at his time, and it's quite more uplifting to us to know that he was also advocating for health care. He was not only right.
Yeah, he was.
He did so much.
Yeah, even after he was elected a president, he surrounded himself with users and advocates for homeopathy. The Postmaster General Montgomery Blair was also the head of the National Homeopathic Hospital in Washington. His Secretary of the Treasury was Salmon Chase, was also a support and advocate for homeopathy, and his most trusted advisor the Secretary of State, William Seward, was an advocate for homeopathy, so much that on the day that Lincoln was assassinated, William Seward was stabbed in a multi-person assassination plot against the Union. And how did the killer gain entrance to Seward's home and personal bedroom? Well, according to what's the name of the historian? According to a article entitled "Other Days," found in the periodical publication named the Homeopathic Recorder, which was published in 1887. The way that the killer got access to Seward's personal bedroom was by alleging he had a delivery of homeopathic remedies from his homeopathic doctor, whose name was Tullio Verdi. Wow.
Unbelievable. Oh, my Lord.
And not only that, Lincoln, Major General for the Civil War, Mr. What's his name? McClellan, he was saved by homeopathy when 1 month into the job, he got typhoid fever. And so 2 homeopathic doctors were sent down from New York to treat him and also treat his father-in-law, who was the chief of staff and who also had contracted typhoid fever. However, the most interesting point of this story is the use of homeopathic remedies by Major McClellan, especially because he came from a family of prominent Orthodox doctors.
Wow. So were they using homeopathic treatments for soldiers?
Yes, they were. Let me just quickly tell you what happened. Despite all the help that the homeopathic remedies gave to McClellan, as he was even sick, he was still able to work throughout his illnesses with the support of homeopathy. The army still carry on refusing to allow homeopathic doctors to join them to treat the soldiers. Claim that they were quacks, even though their education, medical education, was very thoroughly indeed. However, in 1862, Lincoln was still receiving requests to provide homeopathic treatment for the soldiers, and in that year he signed a bill allocating some Civil War military hospitals over to homeopaths because of the unparalleled successes in treating cholera, typhoid fever, diphtheria, influenza, and also bullet wounds.
Wow. Amazing.
And there is one thing I forgot to tell you, that the homeopathic colleges were the first colleges to accept women.
Ah, wow. Yeah,
well,
you can certainly.
The Orthodox.
Yeah, homeopathic doctors are certainly more open-minded. But after all this, and we know homeopathy was quite successful in the 19th century, and then science begins to strive, and suddenly everything shifts. So, what happened there?
What happened is that there was a lot of propaganda against homeopathy, and especially by very powerful people. And I think that was Ford or someone from the car, the big car
industry
manufacturers. Yeah, it started to produce those concoctions, allopathic concoctions, and start sending salesmen through America selling them, and then there was the First World War, where the side of science that dealt with spirituality, or even the spiritualism movement, and the taking over of the world's mind by materialism were much greater than us spiritualists, and somehow they have more. I think that they are quite powerful at attacking these things. Do you understand me? They are quite fierce in the way that they play all this.
Wow, it's amazing, because I see also not only the skepticism but the convenience regarding the financial aspects of it all. Is that correct?
Yes. But no, the allopathic drug companies, they have all the shareholders in the bank waiting for their returns. The allopathic drug companies, they are the richest lobby in the whole world. I mean, do they really want to cure disease? If they cure disease, they won't be making money.
That's true.
For the shareholders in the banks. But not
exactly.
only that, Vanessa, I have something that I was meant to tell you, which just skipped my mind now. Anyway, if you can, that's basically it. What else did I have to say to you?
I know. It's okay. While you think about it, I just want to share with the listener that the behind the scenes of a homeopathic medicine is its effectiveness due to the fact that it works in the spiritual body, as Dr. Hines has already mentioned. And we see its effectiveness throughout the history of homeopathy itself, and the reasons why it's not happening nowadays, due to certain ignorance and financial ambitions of the pharmaceutical industry.
And not only that, people have been so trained now to want a quick fix. You see, the world now is so quick. We have the internet, and everything is at our disposal at a keyboard, and people are not willing anymore to follow the laws of nature, because the law of cure has an order. This was discovered by Hahnemann and his successor. And the law of cure is a natural law, but cure takes time. Many times takes time. And cure involves, if you have suppressed a lot of symptoms, cure involves unsuppressing that. And by unsuppressing that, you have return of all the symptoms. And when they return, they have to be treated with homeopathy, not suppressed again. And so cure is about unraveling. And cure is a tridimensional process. It's not only a two or one-dimensional process.
Wow, just beautiful, and I think it brings so much hope to us, Renata, because I have my personal experience with homeopathy, and I know other people do too, but there are many people who are yet to experience it, and we're not telling them never ever use allopathic medicine. We're just saying there's more to healing than just that.
Yes.
Correct?
Allopathic medicine, as Hahnemann said, or orthodox medical care is very good for accidents and emergencies. When the vital energy does not have time to react quicker and keep the person alive. But for chronic diseases, it's not good. We all know that. They all carry side effects, and they all they all just drive the illnesses inwards.
Mhm. 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 Beautiful. So, Renata, I know everything you're sharing with us. It's so fascinating. What would you like to share as your final comments for the listeners who will certainly research more on what you the so much information you gave to us? What would you like to share as your final comments today?
My final comment. Oh, well, I would say keep your mind open. You know, research about homeopathy. Research as much as you can if you are interested, and that's about it. I don't know what else to say.
No, you said so much already. So you said it all. Let's keep our minds open. Thank you so much,
Welcome,
Renata,
Vanessa.
for being with us. And let me also remind the listener that the cover article of our current issue of the Spiritist magazine has Dr. Hines' article about homeopathy and spiritism. All you have to do is go to the website spiritistmagazine.com or thespiritistmagazine.com and read the article. It's free of charge. You can read it by downloading the PDF, or you can order, of course, if you want the hard copy of the magazine. You can have in your house. We don't have subscription, but the magazine is available to you in paper form too. All you have to do is go to the website, thespiritistmagazine.com, and order from our partner, MagCloud. And if you want to read the magazine in your phone, in your tablet, easy. Just go to the Apple Store or go to the Google Store and download for free the app Spiritist Magazine. The Spiritist Magazine has an app. Can you believe it? Fascinating. We love it. Thanks to the Spiritist Society of Virginia, who is sponsoring the app for the magazine. Thank you, Renata, again and again for your time, for your patience, and for the beautiful research you brought to us. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for having me there, Vanessa. Thank you so much, and keep up with the good work, Vanessa.
Thank you, Renata. Thank you. We count on you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, dear listener, I am really, really happy, and I hope you are too. I'm happy because we've got to know so much information. The bottom line, as Kardec says in the Spirit's book, questions 30, 31, 32, 33 onwards, the foundation of matter is the same, the universal matter, elementary matter. From there on, everything derives. So then next time people ask you, what is homeopathy all about? Is it a sugary pill? No, it's about the essence of life. And it goes straight to our spiritual body, the perispirit, fixing its imbalances so it can manifest in the physical body. It's not the reverse. Health begins in the mind, then it vibrates to the spiritual body, from the spiritual body to the physical body. You know, as we mentioned before, cutting parts of the body doesn't resolve the problem if the problem is not resolved in its foundation, in the mind and in the spiritual body, the perispirit. Read the article about homeopathy and spiritism in the latest issue of the Spiritist magazine. Go to the website, the Spiritist magazine, or read it in your app, and you get to know more about this fantastic benefit of homeopathy. I treat my daughter Virginia with it. I treat myself with it. And I have beautiful accounts of how it really works to heal us. Allergy, colds and flu and everything else. Sincerely, it's something that can only do good and no bad at all. It's a work that comes from the higher spirits. Well, dear listener, I don't have any music to play to you today, and I'm so sorry about it. Blog Talk Radio is having some problems with its audio files. So I don't have music or other files or the Heaven and Hell case, but I can play here a song of the heart, which is a prayer. Let us pray. Let us pray in gratitude for life. Let us visualize a beautiful field of flowers. Flowers of all colors. Colors that radiate light, healing. And let us breathe in the perfume of those flowers. Flowers are signatures of God. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for life, for the teachings of life, for the opportunity of facing challenges and growing stronger and better than we could ever imagine. Thank you for the good and loving spirits that embrace us with so much care. Thank you also for this day and for those who have discarnated today. Please share these blessings with them and their family members so they are received with your loving care. May we become more charitable today than we were yesterday. Thank you, dear Lord, and so be it. Dear listener, thank you for being with us. And in a week from today, we're going to have here in the program with us Dr. Daniel Rossi, who is the son of our dear friend Elsa Rossi from the British Union of Spiritist Societies. He's going to be here talking to us about social transformation. He's a spiritist and a faculty at a university in Brazil. And socially speaking, he has been rocking it in Brazil. He has been changing everything in his community. And recently, his house was also burned by those who didn't like what he was doing. So he is somebody who is really walking the talk and has a lot of to share with us. But this is not it. In the meantime, you can listen to Kardec Radio on demand, or you can listen to Kardec Radio on iTunes, on TuneIn Radio, Blog Talk Radio, KardecRadio.com, and tomorrow, Sunday, 8 p.m., hosts from around the world sharing the best of Spiritism to you on Spiritist Awareness. On Wednesday, Franziska Kranz from Germany with Mackenzie Mello from the United States sharing with you another chapter of No Solar. And on Thursday, Vanessa Childs from Seattle, Washington, sharing with you another beautiful Spiritist talk. All we do is from the heart to nourish your soul wherever you are. Big hug to you, dear listener, and many blessings.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.